One of the things that makes me love the 9 o'clock Mass here at St. John's is because it reminds me so much about home, Back home, our Mass has a lot of those little noises you can hear all over, Those sweet voices, that tells you that we have the church of tomorrow. And just by that, it makes me so happy. And it's always sweet to attend this Mass, especially when the kids are all over, I don't care them just moving about, It doesn't disrupt me because I stay focused on what I'm doing. Today we celebrate the 19th Sunday in ordinary time. And if you ever want, you have problems of a lot of things moving into your lives, always do the readings of 19th Sunday. They give a lot of hope and a lot of strength, and I love them. The church today, through these readings, reminds us that God is always close to us. He calms our storms of life. He lifts us up during our low moments. And he also restores our peace when our peace is taken away. And we have these three figures in both readings. We have the first reading, this prophet Elijah. On the second reading, we have Paul. And the gospel, it has Peter. Elijah was afraid and ran away from Ahab and his wicked wife Jezebel, who wanted him dead at all cost. By the way, when I was growing up, I didn't know why everything bad we used to say, don't behave like Jezebel. I didn't know what it was, but we used to say that a lot. Even kids will still say, if something is not, if somebody asks, there are these bad people. We always say, you behave like Jezebel. But the gospel, tells you that Jezebel was a very wicked wife. And she didn't want anything good. And Elijah was so afraid of Ahab. Ahab was a good man, but behind Ahab was Jezebel. And you know that what that means, Paul, on the second reading, was having this sorrow and anguish due to the unbelief of his kinsmen. It felt so bad when he tried to preach to them the gospel and its meaning, but people would not heed. And it took away his peace. And in the gospel, Peter was sinking right in front of Jesus due to fear, his lack of faith and courage. And this is the dilemma of our lives. In one way or the other, our peace gets threatened. With all the fear and what was going on in the life of Elijah, God came to his rescue. God restored the peace of Elijah. The appearance of God in a tiny whispering wind is the assurance to us that God comes to our aid at the appropriate time. He speaks to us when we are internally recollected and calm. Often, we seek God with distracted minds. In a state we may not encounter him. It is when we are recollected that we hear him speak to us. He does not speak to us on the strong and heavy wind, not on the earthquakes or crashing rocks, but on the cool breeze. That meaning when our minds are focused, that is the time we can hear the voice of God. In the gospel, the disciples of Jesus experienced the storm of their life. And Jesus was available to calm it and equally restore their peace. Storms are a part and parcel of our human existence. We cannot run away from them. Sometimes they hit us so hard that we are crushed, devastated, and almost give up. In fact, some of you seated here, in one way or the other, some have ever given up. If you ask each person their story, there are some who will tell you, Father, I reached somewhere, I gave up. I never went to the church again. Nothing brought meaning to my life. They gave up. But in the silence of their hearts, they recollected, and today they are seated here. Some who are seated here today are crushed. Their life, they feel like their life is into pieces. But you can't tell because it's deep in the heart. Maybe you look at somebody and you smile and the person smiles back. But there are very strong wind moving them. This is a day that God is assuring us, those who feel in such kind of a situation, God will not let us down. Don't give up. Don't be angry with Him. Don't be angry with anybody. Don't carry people's burden just because you are annoyed. If there is something I have succeeded in my life, is refusing to carry people's burden. And I said I will never carry people's burden. You can't annoy me. I will not accept. I will not. Even if you come straight to me, I will just look at you and no, you have your own problem. This is not mine. I can't accept that, you know. Because when we understand that God is on our side, nothing will move us. There are some today, this one I don't think they are here. There are some today who are still bitter with God. They are out there, they don't see the reason of even going to church. Because one day, one time, their life was crushed. And up to today, they have not recollected. You can't judge them. Sometimes we judge them. We think they are bad people. They are not. They got crushed. They have not regained their balance. And for us, who have the calmness, we are called to pray for them. For those who understand this journey, those who once upon a time they were crushed and they regained their balance, it is the high time to pray for those who are down. Like the disciples of Jesus, each one of us experienced the storm in diverse ways in our lives. That is the storm that robbed our peace. When the Jews rejected the good news, it was a moment of sadness for Paul. He was willing to be condemned for the sake of his brothers. Their rejection of faith had taken away his peace. Again, this is what most of us feel when we see what is happening in the world today. Sometimes we feel so sad. Especially when we see the gospel values being trampled by even the people who are supposed to protect them. It feels so sad. It's devastating. We, priests who are supposed to protect the gospel values, we start speaking against them. We start encouraging. It brings sadness. And now you can understand what Paul was going through. When we see this, we are broken. We feel let down. But despite of all this, we are called to stand strong in faith. Faith can move mountains. Never underestimate the faith you have. Never underestimate the faith that brought you from your home to here. Never underestimate it. And if you underestimate, remember when Jesus said that even if your faith is as small as a mustard seed, it can move mountains. Together, we are army of prayer warriors. And that means we can defeat any Satan. We can defeat any devil. The only thing we need to do, stand up and be counted. Never let anything, never let anybody rob your peace. Peace is from God. Peace is a gift from God. Do not allow anyone to get it from you. Always guard it. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.